Today I wanted to show you my Dresden plates a little bit closer. These are the ones that I think may be dated back to 1920s, at least 1930s. And these are the blocks that I was having to make a decision on how to finish them. So I've got this box here, and I've got some other blocks in here. This is actually a scrapbooker's bin, and it was just a good size for all my blocks. So I want to show you these. And when I bought these, there were a few of them that had the centers already done in it, but most of them did not. They had the fabric, but not the centers. And the ones that had the centers were basted on the wrong side with the fabric showing through, and then they were trying to fold the ends of the blades under. So actually the blades would be on top of the circle, and the ones there, I think there were two maybe that had been completed that way, the circles were all out of shape. They were all oval and just did not look very good. So I went ahead and took those apart. I cut out the rest of the circles and folded under the edges, and then I hand stitched them onto the plates with an applique stitch. So those are all done, and I've had these done for quite a while. But you can see there are, I think there's about 22 blades in each one of these, if not more. But you can see there's just a wide variety of fabrics in here, and there's a lot of different color variations. And for me, it's been a little bit hard to tell. A lot of these look like maybe they're 1940s fabrics. We've got some really large prints here, and then we have some smaller dots, and then we have a little more retro looking fabrics here. This looks like a 30s to me, and the reason I think that is because in the 1930s, when they were printing fabrics, a lot of times there'd be this white shadow around the colored area, and they did that so that they didn't have to get their dye in the exact spot. They had some leeway, so you'd see these shadows, these white shadows around the fabrics, around the prints a lot. So I really don't know, and it's kind of funny because I've been working with 1930s quilts and 1920s and even 1940s a lot the last 4 or 5 years. The more I work with them, the less I think I know about them. So this would take somebody with more experience than me to date these. But we got all kinds of really pretty fabrics in here. I really like this one. I like these over here. This one has kind of a turquoisey color. This is a really loose weave. I don't know if this would be bark cloth. It may be. But we've got, this looks like a 30s. But the darker, more muted colors look more like the 40s to me. But I am not an expert, so. And then we have more little retro, and then here we've got, this almost looks like a knit, but it isn't stretchy. It's just a different type of weave, and I don't know what kind of fabric that is. Here's another 30s. And then here we have some little conversation prints. There's a duck pulling a cart. I don't know exactly what that is. I'm looking at it upside down. Oh, it's a clown. It's a clown with a ring, and there's a bunny. There's another pretty purple. Here's a purple there I like. Just lots of pretty fabrics in these. And then I see things that are repeated quite frequently, like this fabric here. And then here's one here that looks almost like a morning print. So that could be quite a bit older. That could be like 1910. Now this one doesn't look like a morning print, but it's black with blue and white. And here's this fabric repeated. This one is repeated. And some of these are machine stitched, and I think most of them are machine stitched if I remember right. And then they used all different colors of thread. Like here's a pink thread in a couple of these. Now this is hand stitched here. That might be where they put the whole block together. I think a lot of times when you make Dresden plates, you kind of make half of it and then the other half, and you kind of sew them together, and then you put the centers in. So where they sew those together, they may have hand stitched it, but it's machine stitched over here. And I haven't cleaned these and I haven't pressed them. This is the way they came. Lots more pretty prints. Here's another 30s. There's another one there. Here's another one that looks like it is a knit, but it really isn't. And here's another one. Just a different weave of fabric. Really some pretty fabrics in here. And I have a lot of these. I have 23 blocks. So this can make one really huge quilt, or it can make several quilts. And I believe they probably were made by the same person because the fabrics are repeated frequently throughout. This one has been kind of put together in kind of a pattern. You can see like about every fourth blade is this brown, except it's like they kind of stretched it out over here. The purples are repeating next to the browns, and there's several reds. They just reuse the same fabric frequently in this. The fabrics are repeated all the way around, whereas when you look at this one, some of them are repeated. There's 2 of these blues, there's 3 of these purples, but a lot of these, like there's only one of this one, there's 2 of these, 2 of those. So it doesn't look like they were using much of a pattern, but on this one it looks like they were trying. And here's another one. Now I wouldn't call these 30s because I think if they were 30s they would be clearer colors. They wouldn't be as muted. There's a lot of muted colors in here. They're more shades of colors as opposed to those clear colors that you see in the 30s fabrics. So the overall feel is, to me, is not 30s, even though I believe there are some 30s fabrics in here. So, and when you get these little prints, those are more, I believe, 20s fabrics. When you get the larger, those big prints like this one, this is more what you would see in the 40s. The prints were larger, but they were still muted. So you had muted colors in the early 20s. In the later 20s, you started seeing the 30s, what we consider the 30s fabrics. And then in the 40s, the patterns got larger. The prints were larger. At least in my experience and what I've read. And once again, I am not an expert. This is just my own personal experience. I like this one. This one really catches my eye. And I do have a couple of 40s quilts that I know are from the 40s. They were, the blocks were made by my grandmother, and then I put them together into a quilt. And the age was verified by an aunt of mine who is also a quilter. And she took these, she actually owned the blocks after my grandmother died. She was not the daughter, that my grandmother didn't have a daughter who quilted. She did have one daughter, but she didn't quilt. This was the daughter-in-law. And but she has a bunch of quilting friends, and she brought them to her friends, and they looked at them, and they all pretty much agreed that they were 1940s. So these, I am thinking, are more 1920s. Just from that. Just from that information that I have. So lots of pretty, pretty fabrics. So you can see they're all different, but yet enough of the fabrics are repeated throughout that they're all going to look good in a quilt. It's going to be a scrappy quilt, but it will be, you know, cohesive, and I think it'll look good. I like that one too. And that's repeated several times, and I like these aqua colors. So those are the blocks that I have, and I was debating on how to finish them, and I've been doing more research. And what I can do is I made a template a couple years ago, which I don't know what I did with it. Here it is, of the blades, thinking that I would use this to help turn these edges under and iron them down. That will work on several of the blocks, but when I'm looking at them, some of them are, the way they are put together, I'm not going to have much room to turn under. So now Dresden plates don't have to have a pointed edge, they don't have to have a rounded edge, they can just be turned into a circle like that, and that is what I'm considering doing at the moment. It'll be the least time consuming, and it's still historically accurate. I haven't really decided yet, but that is an idea. I just have to make a circle the appropriate size and make a template from the circle, and just use that to help press those edges under. So I still haven't decided. I don't know. I just really don't know. It's one of those things where I'm just undecided, because this quilt is so going to be, these blocks are so pretty, and I think the quilt made out of these is going to be really pretty, and you know, I just haven't decided what to do. So anyway, this is just a closer look of these blocks for you, and I will get around to making a decision on what I'm going to do to applique these down. Another thing is we've got some of these are the really loose weaves. They're, you know, they're coming apart, and so I need to do something before they do come completely apart. But I am going to put these through a quilt soak, get them all fresh and clean, press them again, and then hopefully by then I will have decided what I'm going to do. And when I do, I will let you know about that. So I hope you enjoyed looking at these blocks a little closer, and I hope to see you in the next video.
Thanks for watching. For more quilting ideas, click on the video links. And to keep up with my newest projects, click on the subscribe button. I hope to see you again soon.